Thank you for turning to page 121. You meet in a bar. Oh my gosh, that used to be such a standard thing, and now it sends chills up everybody's spine. Oh my gosh, that's such a hackneyed opening, you can't use it. Well, yeah, I do. I use it all the time. I did a video on this topic a few months ago for Traveler, and it occurred to me that I don't get a ton of overlap between D&D and Traveler, so I thought, what the heck, I'll do it from the D&D perspective. And I'm going to be a proponent of meeting in a bar. And I know that the legend is that TSR back in the 80s had put a ban on adventures meeting in bars, and anybody who did meet in a bar, any adventure that started that way, they would simply just not finish it, they would not read it, and they would return it to you, reject it. And I believe that was true. I really do. TSR got stuck with a couple of different things, and some of the knock against D&D early on was it was teaching alcohol use and things like that. Well, I was 18 when I started playing D&D, and I didn't need to learn about alcohol use. I had already attained some. And when I turned 18, unfortunately, they just raised the drinking age in Illinois from 18 to back to 21. So I kind of got robbed there a little bit. But I'd had some time drinking, and so the bar thing wasn't a big thing for us as players. It's not like we were 12 and 13-year-olds and giggling because we were in a bar. It just happened to be a really convenient place for you to meet. And it's a good place to have different people in the bar and different things that can happen. And that's why I like it. I don't start every game in a bar. I don't start many games in a bar. But I do have games that happen in a bar. This setup here, if you watched my video the other day against the Cult of the Reptile God, one of the big places that you adventure in that is one of two big inns in the city of Orleans, or Orleans rather. So I decided I would set up a bar because my players, when they come to a new town, almost always go to a bar. And I thought, well, heck with it. I'll take a look at D&D and bars. And the answer to me is I don't mind it at all. I have played games. Craig just ran a game not too long ago where we were in a bar. And a lot of times they're fun because you start a bar fight and it's kind of wild and out of hand, especially depending on the alignment. But also it can be a great place to make contacts and learn things. Now, in the real world, I have held and been part of many meetings in restaurants or bars where you're meeting after hours, you buy somebody a couple of drinks, you go over some business, and then you decide what you're going to do going forward. So the idea of meeting in a bar or a restaurant, very, very real, and something that happens all the time, every day in real life. And I thought, well, why should this be such a negative thing in D&D? And I don't believe it is. It gives you an opportunity for lots of encounters, things you wouldn't necessarily think of, the players will come up with. I've had players wizard lock doors in bars that they didn't like the owner. I've had them do all kinds of mischief. I've had the occasional bar catch a fireball, depending on the alignments of the players, and get burned to the ground. That's happened a time or two in my campaign. So they happen, and I'm for it. I think it's a great meeting place. It's a great neutral hub to get your players to meet other people, other creatures, and just kind of get the adventure going. So tonight's game against the Cult of the Reptile God will not be starting out in a bar, but will definitely be taking place, at least part of it, in a bar. So I want to take a look at some of the stuff I've acquired over the years for setting up bars. These tiles are old Dwarven Forge. These are from about 2004, so they're about 20 years old as of the making this video. And I love them. It's two bar sets put together. One is the bar set and the other is a bar accessory set. And then I've acquired very many things otherwise. I have always been a fan of dead guys laying in the dungeon. So there you have it. That's an old Ral Partha figure, I believe. And here's a newer one I bought off of an Etsy site. I like having litter like this around. I put them in bars, and that indicates to my players right away how rough the bar is. And years ago, back in the mid-'80s, I think 85 or 86, I was at Gen Con, and I bought the Cities of Magic set. There were three, I want to say. I bought all three. And guys like this were in the Cities of Magic. you know what, I'm gonna put him back over here and I'm gonna zoom in on him. I'm not set up, as you see, for this kind of video, unfortunately. There we go. It's just a goblin or whatever, just running roughshod over somebody smaller than him. I have 2 drunken goblins. These I think were Alpartha. I don't remember. These are old though. I've had both these guys for about 40 years. It's just that it's so much fun to have your players in a bar, and I even have a couple of tropes of my own that I use. I move around the bar a little bit. I have this lady, she's the shadow, this lady who's sweeping. She's always out front, she's always sweeping. The players will talk to her initially, and 9 times out of 10, she'll just kind of giggle and go inside, and that'll be that. And then other times, she'll have some information for them. And then one other time, I made her the mastermind. That was pretty good. They didn't see that coming. Here's a mom with a couple of kids. This is a Reaper figure, I believe. Or it might be, I don't remember. Yeah, I think it's a Reaper. But I've been collecting stuff for bars for, well, since the early 80s. This is a beautiful set Craig picked up online that he painted. Great job, Craig. And some wood to go with it. And we've got tables set up. We've got all kinds of patrons. I've got all kinds of seated people that I've picked up over the years. I've got a barkeep. This guy's Reaper too, I believe. And got the little kitchen area. I've got a dwarf brewmeister back there. And a chef. This is from the Cities of Magic set. And then the tables and chairs. Those are made of high durability plaster. I poured those from her start molds over the years. I got this guy, one of my favorite figures. He's from Cities of Magic as well. He's obviously having a hard time controlling the magic broom of flying that he thought was for sweeping. And then just an open barrel. This too is from her starts. So I am actually a huge advocate of you meet in a bar. I think it's a great way to start your game off. I think so much stuff can happen there that I don't consider it trite or contrived. I consider it part of gameplay. It's no different than if somebody were to declare that all of a sudden going into a dungeon was trite and contrived. It is. Who would build a dungeon? Answer, nobody. But the game is Dungeons and Dragons. We're going to see some dungeons. So I am absolutely for it. I think it can be a great way to start your campaign. This is a merchant I picked up. This is from WotC, I think. Yeah. And I've got a couple others out here. I've got a noble that I picked up, also from WotC. So, dead guy in the bar, laying right there. And I use the corpses laying around and the guy with the smaller guy. I use those as indications of how tough the bar is. So when they walk in, I may pull some of this stuff out if it's the good in Module N1, Cult of the Reptile God. If it's the bad one taken over by the cultists, then I'll leave the various knocked out guys or dead guys laying around. So it's just a way you can shape your game. It's a way you can introduce a ton of role-playing, some combat. It's just a good way to have people meet. They meet in a nice neutral site, in this case a bar, and you can get your adventure rolling there. I understand why TSR turned on this. Like I said, they were getting some blowback because it seemed like they were promoting alcohol as part of the game. We were older gamers. We didn't need TSR to promote that part of it. We were doing that just fine ourselves. So there you have it. That's a quick look at a bar setup I have and my reasons for you starting a bar. And let me know what you think. If you still use this old cliche or if it's just beyond you and you're never going to run a game like that and it's just terrible, let me know. I'm interested in any kind of constructive ideas on this. And let me know what you think of the video in general. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. And please take a look at the Patreon, see if there's anything you can do to help me out there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on page 121.